8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
To pursue science is not to disparage the things of the spirit. In fact, to pursue science rightly is to furnish the framework on which the spirit may rise.
Welcome to the Endless Frontiers, your home for all things science, fiction, and science fiction. I'm your host, Jed Morgan, and welcome into another Write or Flight Thursday edition. I know this isn't the normal day or time slot for this show, but I had to make it work where I could. I started a new job this Monday, and it's been crazy. I've been working 11-hour days, traveling all over the state of Florida. It's been a hell of a ride, but it kind of, came to an end. Today and tomorrow are going to be a lot more casual than the last couple days or the previous half of the week. So I found time to do this stream, and I definitely want to do it. Even if not as many people could make it because they didn't know it was going to be at this time, I still knew that I needed to get in a Write or Flight this week because I haven't missed a Write or Flight yet. Even with Christmas, the holidays, and everything like that, since Write or Flight began, we have not missed a week. We've moved it around, but we've never missed a week. Next week, it will also be moved most likely on Thursday again, actually, but it's still going to happen. That is my goal. No matter what's going on, still doing a Write or Flight sometime in the week. It might be truncated like this one. I am a little bit exhausted from the work of the week, so this might be a little bit shorter than the 2.5-hour ones that we've been averaging the last few, but regardless, it's great to be hanging out with all of you again. Yes, I'm not dead. I'm alive. First time streaming in a week, it feels like, if not more. But I am here, and it's great to have you here. I see Legatus Legionist, the Mod Supreme, already doing the Lord's work on YouTube and Kick. Thanks for being here. And as everybody cycles in, I appreciate whether or not you watch on the YouTube side or the Kick side. It's greatly appreciated. Now, with everything going on with my new job and everything that I just mentioned, I've been a little bit out of it. I haven't been following stories as much as I normally like to, following notifications, doom scrolling on occasion, so I had to scramble in the lead up to the stream to find things to talk about. Like, alright, ground news, please help me. What happened? Get me an idea of all the things that happened in science and fiction this week. And this might just be a result of that, kind of out of it mindset that I've been in, but I don't feel like a whole lot happened besides the trailers that came out today. I didn't see any science news that really moved the needle. Didn't see any real pop culture news to move the needle. I could talk about Project Hail Mary sending a Lego into space and breaking a Guinness World Record. That's not really a topic as much as I love Project Hail Mary. I could talk about Pragmata, the game that's pissing off a bunch of people. And apparently, from what I've heard, some people are saying, hey, any man who wants to have kids is actually a creep. That's insane. I haven't played the game, that's why I'm not going to make it an actual segment of this stream, but just the mere fact that this game is encouraging parental instincts, fatherly instincts, isn't a bad thing. Of course, men get baby fever. I'm married and I've got baby fever. It's not a bad thing to want to create a family, and men have inbuilt paternal instincts, just like mothers have maternal instincts. Women have maternal instincts because there's an evolutionary advantage to it. There's a social advantage to it. That's why we have the culture that we do to a certain extent, is the evolutionary needs birth certain elements of our culture like family units, and they are important for the continuation of our species. So of course there's an inbuilt paternal instinct. Anyone who's saying that men have no parental instincts, they have hateful lives. I really think that they're so jaded that they can't imagine men actually being good people. And I don't know if that's because of the men who are around them or they're just sad individuals. But whatever the reason, they need to open their eyes to real men out there who want to build families. But that's all I'm going to say about that. We'll probably talk about it more on the first episode of Tryhards tomorrow night at 10 p.m. or 10:15 Eastern on Dermy Wormy's channel. That's definitely a topic that I can imagine we'll be talking about over there. So I'll get more into it, maybe catch up on the story a little bit, learn more about the game, because like I said, I've been a little out of it. Legata says 3+ hour stream today. No, not a 3-hour stream, if I can at all help it. I'm thinking an hour and a half. I'll be happy with, an hour to an hour and a half. That's what I'm hoping for. Judas Goat Barbecue stopped by saying Neil deGrasse Tyson came out as a flat earther. Oh my god, I'm going to have to look that up. I'm sure it's a meme, but I will not pass up the opportunity to make fun of Neil deGrasse Tyson. Legata's pissing off very small minority. Get that correct. Okay, so is it a small amount? Like I said, I'm not actually following the story, just, hearing about it through Twitter posts. So that is a good catch. It's just a very loud minority, which happens all the time. Very loud minorities making everyone think that they're the majority just through sheer volume. Let me look up Neil deGrasse Tyson flat earth. Legata's having a strong male/father figure the few hate, and boy, they are loud. Yeah, they are very loud. Judas, no, you're kidding? I wish that it was true. I wish you had found something where he was like flippantly saying, oh yeah, I'm totally a flat earther. Like clearly it's a joke. But I could make a fake segment around that and be like, see, Neil deGrasse Tyson, the grifter that he is, he actually believes in flat earth. It would have been a meme on top of a meme. I hate that I agree with Neil deGrasse Tyson on anything, but the way he treats flat earthers is something that I can get behind. I can absolutely get behind his treatment of flat earthers. And that sucks. What really sucks is, if any of you have been watching Roundtable or a lot of Adam the Renaissance Nerd streams, there's a Disney Star Wars stan that he reacts to commonly on X called Jeremy Manobite. And I never really saw Jeremy in my Twitter timeline up until recently. And I saw him first making fun of flat earthers. So I'm like, hey, I like this guy. He's saying all the right stuff. This is awesome. And then on this week's Roundtable, I saw Adam responding to him. And the way he said, Jeremy Manobite, I realized that's the same guy he's been talking about this whole time. So I felt quite bad that I was agreeing so vehemently with Jeremy. But the thing that we all have to recognize is there is a need to take people on a case-by-case basis and not write anybody off as a sum total if you disagree with them on one topic. So I clearly disagree with him on his position on Star Wars, vehemently so, but that doesn't devalue the positive things he's been saying about space travel and stuff like that, because he said positive things as well about why this is important and everything like that. So I don't think certain individuals having extreme and dismiss-worthy opinions on certain topics should entirely devalue their opinion on other topics. There are exceptions, of course, and if someone is consistently just a nut job, yeah, dismiss them entirely. but I have two things that I've heard Jeremy Manobite say. One, completely overboard Disney fan, in my opinion. The other, very reasonable, scientifically sound arguments, and poking fun at flat earthers. So I'm going to take those separate issues separately. Legatus, people like Carl Sagan presented things that got people interested in it. Science and astronomy. Tyson just wants to make me vomit, in my opinion. I agree with that. And I think it was you, Legatus. It might have been somebody else in the chat or several people. It was probably several people in the chat. But over the last few months, the book that Carl Sagan wrote called Contact has been brought up a lot. You've definitely mentioned it, at least Legatus, I believe. And I finally got around to it. So with all the travel that I've been doing for my job in the state, I've been listening to Contact on audiobook while I've been driving. I averaged an hour and a half commutes where I was going all week. So I was driving 3 hours a day, and so I got through a lot of Contact is what I'm trying to say. I've very, very nearly finished it. I brought probably, 45 minutes left of the audiobook listening to it, and it was fascinating. I really like how Carl Sagan put a lot of things. I love Carl Sagan. From what I've seen of his old TV shows and the videos I've seen of him, his interviews, he had a great talent for injecting wonder into everything that he said. It was so inspiring. Go back and watch some Carl Sagan clips, and you listen to the way he describes the cosmos, and you go, we live in a wonderful place. I want to understand all of it. I'm sure he inspired countless astronomers and astrophysicists over his years, but with Contact, obviously he was a physicist or whatnot, so his expertise wasn't in literature, in prose writing and stuff like that. Yet he still did a good job. He probably had a ghostwriter helping him with that aspect of it. That wasn't his expertise, but the ideas in it were very fascinating. So if you don't know, just briefly, Contact, the book by Carl Sagan, is about a radio telescope professional, director of an observatory out in New Mexico, who intercepts a signal from the nearby star Vega. And it turns out this is an extraterrestrial radio signal that everyone on Earth can hear because of the Earth's rotation. They all have to work together to piece together this message, and they find out that there are tons of layers to it, different barriers to pass to see if they're intelligent enough to start interacting with the extraterrestrials. There's just the baseline, hey, we're here type thing with prime numbers. Okay, they nailed that one. And then they found in a deeper layer instructions on how to build a spacecraft, but they weren't able to translate those without the third layer that had the primer to decipher those. And then the primer was out in space. They had to go get it there. It was a really fascinating way of looking at first contact, and I love it. It's so realistic what he's describing of alien contact, taking into account things like relativity, the speed of light, how it's unlikely that a spaceship is just going to show up like First Contact, the movie. As much as I love Star Trek First Contact, it's most likely going to be a radio signal from a SETI observatory first. And, the narrative it bounces around a lot. It stretches across well over a decade. And, it is a little bit rough in places. There are sections that by modern standards, even I would call woke. His divergence into raging about the Vietnam War, while they help you understand Ellie, the main character, to a certain extent, they go on for so long and are completely divorced from the plot that they feel like Carl's own opinions, just a diatribe of his opinions. And there's a lot of feminism in that as well. And some of the feminism made sense. It's the 70s, 80s while she's coming up. And as a scientist, absolutely makes sense for there to be a degree of sexism. And yet the book states, hey, the president of the United States is a woman. So I found, just some of those things, there were some inconsistencies on and some issues with the writing, but the pure concept of getting the signal, translating the signal was fascinating. I still haven't finished it yet. I've already had contact with the aliens, for those of you who have read the book, with the wormholes. Very fascinating. I want to know more about those alien species, but it doesn't look like we're going to get much more. I'm going to watch the Jodie Foster movie soon, though. Don't know if I'll pick it for Saturday Night Drive-In, but I will be watching that movie soon because I enjoyed the book so much. But if that was you, Legatus, who pointed that out, and recommended that I read the book. I appreciate it. I definitely enjoyed it. Legata said, "Spaceship of your imagination," I think he called it. He had such a way with words. It's absolutely great. Yeah, what would First Contact actually be like? Not like a huge spaceship just appearing over New York City, but something more grounded. Exactly. And this is the most grounded view of First Contact that I think I've ever heard of. It gets pretty fanciful and pretty far out there once the contact is made in Vega in the center of the galaxy. All that with the dodecahedron with the fancy chairs in it. All of that, it gets a little too cerebral for the grounded concept that he had up to that point. But yeah, everything to do with the message, deciphering it, found it fascinating. Judas says, Carl Sagan's Cosmos shows were great. He hilariously tried to imitate whale songs in one episode, but overall, I loved it. I need to watch more of it. Those are a lot of the clips that I was talking about earlier, but I've never, sat down and watched a whole episode of it or anything like that. He really had a way with words. I wish we had someone on his level today rather than Neil deGrasse Tyson. As much as I love Brian Cox, and I am very impressed with Brian Cox, I love the way that he presents things. Carl Sagan is superior. And Brian Cox, I do think, is the best that we have in the public sphere. There's, of course, incredible scientists behind the scenes. I just mean the ones that are focused on publicity, on educational programming, and stuff like that. He's the best that we have. And I wish we had more like him, more like Carl Sagan. Unfortunately, we have Neil deGrasse Tyson sucking up all the oxygen in the room, and right there beside him, holding onto his coat tears and producing just as many farts to sniff, is Bill Nye, the science guy. Bill Nye's shows, I love those as a kid, but I'm not a fan of who Bill Nye's become these days. So it's Bill Nye and Neil deGrasse Tyson taking up the room of science publicity, and that's not the world I want to live in. I want to live in the Carl Sagan world. That was you, Legatus. Great, thank you. That I really enjoyed it. Legatus, I liked his episode where he went over the formula for how many civilizations are in our galaxy and how that we have a more accurate estimate of the number of stars and planet. What is the new what is the new number? Yeah, those calculations are fascinating, and that's what leads into the Fermi paradox. Why haven't we seen those races? With the age of the universe, in our galaxy alone, there should be enough civilizations to be able to see, even with light delay. So, you have to come up with reasons for why that would be happening. And Contact the book goes with a interpretation similar to the zoo theory, where aliens are specifically avoiding us. And that makes sense. They have enough technology, they can absolutely avoid us. But at the same time, there is something, I think they call it SAG-A or Sagittarius A, is something crazy that, radio astronomers had detected that was an ancient project that these aliens had started and were in the midst of continuing in the present. So in the book, at least, there was some alien knowledge that we had that we didn't recognize, at least of the time. But, the Fermi paradox is fascinating to me. I think it's a little bit more simple than a lot of the explanations. Some of the explanations go into crazy territory, like dark forest is pretty frightening. And, the theory that just the great filter, that it's so difficult to achieve levels of technology to be visible, is the biggest threshold and keeps most species down at a primitive level. I think that one's the most realistic and the most plausible. It's probably a more palatable than, hey, the initial mitosis, the initial emergence of life on a planet is so difficult, so rare that it never happens anywhere else, and we're one lone island of meaning in the universe. I don't find that to be realistic, just mathematically speaking, with the amount of galaxies we've seen, at least. In our Milky Way galaxy, maybe we're the only planet out there, but we need to remember how massive the galaxy is and how we're just a tiny, tiny piece of it in an out-of-the-way corner insignificant corner of a backwater galaxy, is I believe how it was put in Contact. So in our galaxy alone, it's so massive that there should be civilizations, but if not in our galaxy, it has to be in other galaxies. Unfortunately, if that's true, I believe that we will never, ever have contact with races from other galaxies. The hurdles are just too large to overcome. If there are aliens in our galaxy, I do think we'll achieve the level of technology in thousands or millions of years to eventually interact with them and form galactic civilizations. But if it's intergalactic, I just don't know how that's possible with the scales involved. We would really need to master wormhole technology, and that's beyond our ability to even theorize properly. So it's, it's not really worth guessing at that at this point. Judas, another great series is The Universe, which used to be on the History Channel. I used to watch those episodes over and over. I'm glad to hear it. I wish there were programs like that today to inspire the youth. I talk about that a lot with the Artemis program, just seeing how many people were inspired by the launch of Artemis 2. Adults and children alike being invigorated about space travel and, having hope for the future for the first time in a very long time. And that seems an isolated experience. If we had more contact like the universe or the cosmos, Carl Sagan, maybe there would be more inspiration like that on a daily basis, and our world would be legitimately a better place as a result. I'm glad that they were doing reruns like you're talking about, Judas, for the History Channel. I hope that, stuff like that is still going on today. The problem is streaming services made stuff like that a little moot, so kids aren't seeing these shows and they're inundated with a million other more entertaining options that they're not likely to rest on an educational show like the universe or the cosmos. I understand why they're not watching it. I just wish there was something we could do to help them watch it and be inspired by it, because I think we need more scientists in the world. I think we need more children inspired by understanding our universe. And that's not just astronomy, that's across all science. I'm not going to, need this STEM. I find the way that a lot of people talk about STEM to be a little bit cringe, but the idea is fundamentally correct, that we should want to inspire children to participate in all fields of STEM and all fields of science. And that's ultimately what's going to make our world a better place. If we have more scientists, there's less people to do evil. And that's an oversimplification that I just made there. But I do think it would make a noticeable difference if we were inspiring children to be scientists and work in STEM. Welcome in, Sam, saying, where have you been? And Legatus answers, Jed has been working, employment, making money. Yes, that is accurate. And I did have a little speech at the beginning where I did apologize for my absence this week. I started my new job on Monday and things have been absolutely insane. I've been traveling all over the state every day this week, working, 11, 12-hour days. Today was the first kind of slow day. I actually worked from home, so I was prepared to get this stream out at a reasonable time before I was exhausted, because I wasn't getting home until 7 o'clock at night most days this week, and by the time I did, I was exhausted. Next week, I do have more traveling to do to a different part of the state, so Rider Flight won't be on Monday again. It'll probably be on Thursday night again in practically the same time slot as we're in right now. And this time slot is probably what I'm going to go with going forward, but on Monday. So after next week, things should calm down. I should be through with travel. So Rider Flight, as of right now, I'm expecting Rider Flight to be Mondays at 6 p.m. and a scheduled gaming stream to be Thursdays at 6 p.m. I'm still going to try to game whenever I can, but this new job is incredibly demanding, and it's going to be difficult. SWTOR is probably going to be the first thing to be sacrificed. I still want to finish Crimson Desert because I want to play Lego Batman and the James Bond game, so I'm still going to try to stream that at some point. I don't know if I'm going to be able to do that tonight. Maybe I can do it tonight after Ride or Flight, but we'll see. This week and next week are just going to be a little chaotic until I figure out my new schedule, figure out what I'm capable of doing with my new job and my new schedule. Isam, the new job, that's good for him. Appreciate it, man. Welcome in, Dr. Rachel. He's a working man now. That's right, I am a working man. This is the first time in my life that I've had to dress professionally on a daily basis. I don't quite have to wear suits, but it's business attire just below suits, and I've got to be prepared to be in a suit at the drop of a hat. And yeah, I've never been in an environment that's this formal, but the people involved are fantastic. I love my new coworkers. We had inside jokes the first day, and so they're very laid back, casual people, despite what the dress code per se and the demands of it in that area. Sam, how's the work been caught up? How's the work been caught any Ted Bundys? No. I've not caught any Ted Bundys. I'm not in law enforcement like that, so hopefully I don't have to catch any Ted Bundys. Legata says, work equals using energy, so according to the definition by physics, Jed has always been working. That's true. I do expend energy on a constant basis, a 24/7 hour basis. Why am I not being paid 24/7 if I'm always working? You're right, Legatus. I should bring this up to my new boss. A physics argument for 24-hour pay. I am on salary, so I guess I kind of am on 24-hour pay. This is the first time I've been on salary, and it's great. I love being on salary. Isam, holy shit, look at the big brain on Legatus. Smart. It was very smart argument, absolutely. Dr. Rachel, Jed, if you run out of places to travel each week, will they send you to space, do some work with aliens? I would volunteer as tribute. I don't know if the people I work for would be working with aliens if they came. Probably not, but I would absolutely volunteer with that. Let's try to make. I'm going to try to make them run out of places to send me, just so that they can send me into space next. Sounds like a plan. Isam, have you been spreading the fake space doctrine? I actually don't have any flat earthers to make fun of today because they've kind of calmed down, honestly, on social media, at least in what I've seen of them. And like I said, I've been kind of out of the sphere, out off social media for the last week, so I probably missed a lot of great stuff from them. I do have something with Artemis to talk about briefly, but it's a very positive thing. Just a cool new video that was dropped by the Artemis crew from Christina specifically. All right, I think Spectrum's been holding up great so far. They've gotten better, I think. I haven't gotten any new notices about dropping frames or anything like that. I think my frame rate's a little funky. No, it's fine. Meaning at the new job? No. My new job does not have anything to do with spreading space news doctrine of one kind or another. I did get a NASA patch to Velcro onto my work bag, though, so I guess in that sense, I'm spreading space propaganda, space doctrine. Isam, just be a new person over there, like all into astrology. Oh my god. I actually think astrology is so stupid, but I saw a meme that I loved. This guy's like, I love dating a woman into astrology. I feel like a barbarian king. I wake up every day and say, woman, what have the stars said of me? What does fate hold? And, you know, that perspective of it made it kind of funny. So if Rachel got into astrology in that sense and made me feel like a barbarian king, I might be okay with it to a certain extent. But otherwise, I'd make fun of her if she got it into astrology. Rachel, don't jinx. Spectrum, Jed. Hopefully they didn't hear me. I gotta get some salt thrown over my shoulder. Sam, although with the new job you can get off of Boost Mobile, it feels like Boost Mobile. I do need to save up money because, you know, things have been tight around here with the move, not having the job and everything like that. So after the first few paychecks, I think I'm going to get Spectrum. Screw the fee. Apparently most of Florida has a fee for heavy usage. So just because I'm in Florida, I have to pay an additional $500 up front to register. just to register, not for equipment, not for the internet speeds, just you're in a high demand area. Give us more. Rachel, you jinxed me. I think you jinxed me. I didn't jinx me. You jinxed me. I finally give Spectrum a cut again. We'll try this again. All right. You guys should be able to hear me. Spectrum, I will never ever get rid of you. I love you. You are the best internet service provider. Please, please love me still. Come on, Daddy Spectrum. Spectrum all over me. Let's see if that fixes it. We'll wait a second for that to process. But I say, well, that would be when I get arrested for domestic violence. Damn. I did fuck it. Rachel, whoops, you mentioned Spectrum, so they stopped working. That definitely seems to be the case. You guys should still be able to hear me right now, but I might be stuttering, and I should be back entirely with a good frame rate. But, hey, it worked! I said I love Spectrum, and my internet immediately came back. Spectrum is spying on me, listening to me, but I don't mind. He's my big brother, watching out for me, protecting me, guiding me through the wilderness and jungle, frightful, frightful jungle of the internet. He will guide me, and he will protect me. Thank you, Spectrum, for your kind, kind patronage. Let's see if that keeps it working. All right. Well, we've got a good amount of people in, and it's been 40 minutes of me waffling, so let's dive into the first topic of today, which is more a reaction than anything else. We got the first trailer for DC's Clayface. I haven't seen it yet. It's more of a teaser. It's 1 minute long, but we'll watch it, we'll react to it, and see what it looks like. Sam, what the fuck? Stop the stream, take a break after that shit. Spectrum makes you gay. Legata, so long as it counts for view hours, they can watch all they want. Exactly, yeah. If they give me YouTube analytic benefits, go for it. All right, here we go. DC has been in a precarious place ever since James Gunn took over, and to be more precise, it was more precise. Apparently they're spicy. They're spicy over DC. I'm going to start over. DC has been in a precarious position for several years now, long before James Gunn took over. Some people thought him switching sides from Marvel to DC would herald the salvation of the studio and a return to good storytelling that was mostly devoid from the Zack Snyder era. Unfortunately, starting out with Creature Commandos, his universe was off to a low start, and Superman came out to a bit of a sputter. Some people loved it, some people hated it, and it made some sort of kind of maybe a little bit of profit. Now we're getting the next film in the DC universe this year with Supergirl in a couple months. Who knows how that's going to turn out? And Clayface. Clayface is one that I have conflicting feelings on. On the one side, I don't want any more Batman villain films, or really villain films like the Sony Spider-Man villain films, until we've gotten the heroes in this universe. If there were already a Batman in the DC, this would be fine. The DCU, this would be fine. Setting him up to be a villain for Batman 2 in this universe. That would be absolutely fine. I'd be alright with that. I prefer most of that story to be in a Batman film, but I could handle that and be all for it and hope it the best success out there. But because James Gunn hasn't put out a Batman film yet, because he hasn't just canonized the Batman, which a lot of people want him to do, this feels premature. We don't want to be seeing our first glimpses of Gotham in this universe through a different lens. The Joker was an anomaly, not a template. So I do feel a little bit conflicted on that sense, where I don't think it should exist. On the other hand, the model is sound. They're spending so much less money on Clayface, the film, than anything else in the DC universe. Superman cost well north of $250 million to create. This film, I believe the number is closer to $60 to $80 million. Please correct me if I got that wrong. So their threshold for success is significantly lower. And that's what most of Hollywood should be doing. with the exception of your big franchises like Star Wars or whatnot, if Star Wars were doing well, I think Hollywood should be investing in a lot of 50 million-ish dollar films and pumping out 10, 30 of those a year. And then if one of them blows up and is super successful, give it a sequel and give that sequel a little bit more money to play. Right now, we need cheap experimentation, not rare and expensive rehashes of stories and universes that are well established and stale. So, yes, this is part of a big franchise, but its model of being cheap with a low threshold for success and experimenting as a horror film, part of a massive superhero cinematic universe, is something that I can respect and hope at all the success in the world. I don't know the character of Clayface beyond what is in the Arkham video games. So I don't have a horse in this race for his character's interpretation. And I'm not particularly excited for this film, but let's see what this teaser trailer for Clayface has in store. That's a terrifying shot. I do like how much it's leaning into horror. We don't know if the James Gunn promises that this is a horror film will continue from his comments and this trailer to the actual film. There's been baits and switches about stuff like this before, but I'm at least seeing the horror that all right, we should be coming back. I don't think we're gonna get a chat choose your own adventure segment if this keeps happening. I really don't. We lost most of our viewership in that. So I think we're just gonna try to get through these trailers, these videos, and then we'll call it a night. Unless anybody really wants a chat choose your own adventure and risk those internet issues, which I can't help. Spectrum is still refusing to come out for maintenance to fix the neighborhood, but you know, I can keep bugging them about that. So yeah, probably no chat choose your own adventure unless anybody has some strong feelings. All right, that trailer definitely delivered on the promise that this is a horror film. I do need to use that caveat again. It might be a bait and switch, and the film won't lean it that much into horror. That trailer absolutely leaned into horror. And after watching that, I'm genuinely more interested in this film than I have been thus far. Yes, there are the concerns about it being part of the DCU. There are the concerns about it being in a stale cinematic universe. There are the concerns about it being a Batman villain prior to Batman's introduction. But as a separate film, just taking the concept of the film in complete isolation, that looks interesting. That looks interesting to me. I don't know what all of you guys think out in the chat, but I'm intrigued enough that I will willingly watch this when it eventually does come out. It might be the only film of quality in the entire DCU, with its future uncertain with the acquisition of Warner Brothers by Paramount Skydance. All right. Yeah, I thought that was actually way better than I expected it to be, especially for a minute. It gave me a lot of horror vibes, set the tone, and that's what teasers should do. Set the tone, give you an expectation, not really reveal too much about the plot, and I feel like it nailed that. The goddess, you are in a high demand area, and they are not in a rush to fix the known issue. So the high demand stuff is from Starlink, but Spectrum views it as you kind of work sometimes, so we don't care about you. Spectrum has made it very, very, very clear to me that they will not really spend any resources or effort to fix my issues until we have a 100% complete and total outage, like just dead in the water for a day. That's when they will care about my problem. I've had technicians out 5 times in the last 4 months, 6 times in the last 4 months, and maybe 2 of them are terrible. 2 of them were effective, who helped a little bit. Otherwise, they haven't helped at all, and they've all said the same thing. Spectrum will not worry about this problem in any way besides, performative visits until I'm out entirely. Sam, how did they not censor my previous comment? About the astrology? Yeah, it let that one through. Legata said, that was one of the things that the TV show Gotham tried to explain. Did the supervillains appear because of Batman, or were they always there, and Batman just made them all come out into the open? It is an interesting thought, because a lot of superheroes, not just Batman, there's an argument to be made that they make their own villains. Iron Man actually dives into this to a certain extent in Iron Man 3 and Age of Ultron. And Civil War after Age of Ultron, about how he creates a lot of his villains. And the Spider-Man villains, the Homecoming trilogy, they're all made by Iron Man. And the Tobey Maguire trilogy, a lot of those are made by him, or at least him being involved. So there is an argument that a lot of heroes create their own villains. As Jim Gordon put it at the end of Batman Begins, the power vacuum causes these problems. And escalation. He talks about escalation so well in there. Batman is an escalation of justice. So criminals escalate in kind, and that's what creates these rogues galleries. And so you have this interesting moral quandary. Is it better to start taking out these, low-level criminals that are around at the beginning of the story, or without caring about what comes after them? Or do you care so much about what might come after them that you don't stop the low-level guys? It's an interesting concept. And Gotham, I never got into Gotham, but that one definitely seems to have the argument that these villains existed prior to Batman. Batman just exacerbated their influence and inspired them to be greater than they were. Sam, what was their race? It's a very diverse group, and that includes a lot of things. That's all I'll say. Sam, no, I said that looks like my girlfriend if she believes in astrology. Oh, okay, I didn't see that one. That was censored for me, both on YouTube and Restream. Yep. And Rachel, I missed this one from her. I bet Spectrum already clipped that love letter and will use it for their ads. I hope not. I hope not. Sam, just like you can't have Superman saving cats after fighting Zod, huh? I mean, there is an escalation. I think saving cats and, the classification of saving stuff is good in small doses, storytelling-wise, after something as big as Zod. But yeah, once you escalate for the audience, you have to keep escalating. So yeah, it's just as much a storytelling trap as it is a vigilante trap. It's interesting. I'd never thought of it that way, but I mean, we talk about it all the time, like Fast and Furious. What can they do now? They went to fucking space. They have to time travel in the last one or something. They really do at this point. So they've escalated beyond the point of sense, the point of control. And so meaning to go from bigger villains to smaller. Okay, yeah, well, from going from bigger villains to smaller, yeah, that creates a problem. Unless it's narratively driven, it can feel disappointing to go from someone like Zod to, I don't know, what's it? Mexaplex or whatever his name is. It can feel disappointing. Like Batman 1, it's the Joker, and then Batman 2, it's Joe Smo burglar. It could have worked initially, but you have to keep in mind how much you've escalated the audience as much as the character is escalating the response to him. So yeah, it's really interesting to me. Sam, the Fast and Furious movies are the real Artemis. What was it, a Pontiac that they flew into space? That movie was ridiculous. And Fast X Part 1, the diving off the dam in the car and the ball rolling through the Vatican. I am glad to know that they renamed it from Fast X Part 2 to Fast Forever. I'm still disappointed that Fast 10 wasn't Fast 10 your seatbelts. I'm still disappointed that, genuinely. I think that franchise was just campy enough to pull it off. It should have been Fast 10 your seatbelts. Missed opportunity. Missed opportunity. Because who gives a shit about Fast X? Such a bland title. I hate X being stuff. I think Twitter is better now than it was before overall, but not when it comes to its branding. I hate X. I hate throwing in X to things. As much as I respect a lot of the scientific and engineering stuff that Elon does or has done, he names everything X, and I hate it. I hate it so much. At least Tesla, that was a reference. That was a good thing, referencing Nikola Tesla, giving him honor. The electric cars, the man who helped define electricity and its usage, and kind of got robbed of that. Great reference. Love how he named Tesla. But there's too much X stuff. Stop it with the letter X. It's not as interesting and, what's the word? It's not as punk rock or edgy as people think it is. It's just a fucking letter. Even XXX isn't that cutting edge anymore. Legatus. That is the only reason why they wrote Superman Kent. Even with godlike powers, he stays grounded by having the alter ego, the human part, the humane part. Absolutely, it is great to have a device like that to keep a character anchored, and it's through personal struggles that you can de-escalate from a large, over-the-top villain. So, what's a good example of this? Trying to think of a superhero reference, but the best one that I can think of is Captain America Civil War versus Winter Soldier. In Captain America Winter Soldier, the stakes were massive, millions upon millions of people dying, and a shadow organization that was going to rise up and rule the world. Those are massive stakes. And you've escalated to the point where you need an alien invasion to match it, because I think that's pretty much on match with the Chitauri, so they kept it pretty consistent from Avengers to Winter Soldier. But then Civil War comes around, and it's a personal conflict, for the most part, at the root of it, between Captain America and Bucky and Iron Man. You think that there might be some weaponized soldiers that will cause some international problems, but Zemo doesn't actually want that. So the real stakes are friendship, really, and the camaraderie of the team as a whole. That is a massive de-escalation from the stakes of Winter Soldier. But because of how well we knew these characters, how well we knew Captain America, Bucky, and Iron Man, we felt the struggle. And so the emotional stakes were high enough to counterbalance the lowered world stakes. So, yeah, having that Kent side that you're talking about leaves opportunities for that personal escalation to be an alternate to world-ending stakes. And I think that's important. I think that's the only way to successfully de-escalate, is to escalate personal struggles. Sam can ask this, since Karen isn't here yet. How does he not Maybe he's too good for degeneracy. Wow. I couldn't tell you. I'll just say, watch the movie Hancock. I actually really like that Will Smith movie. You also said Tyrese was the first black guy in space. He was not. Maybe in that universe he might have been. Legatus, and that is why Lex Luthor could never understand about Superman and does not use it, as Lex would power control wealth, etc. Yeah, Lex has the personal stakes, the personality, we'll say. Personality can also be an alternate to world-ending stakes, to like Thanos versus Lex Luthor. Obviously, Thanos is the more intimidating villain, sure. Like, the stakes are higher with Thanos, but Lex Luthor written well. I'm not saying Superman 2025, but a good Lex Luthor could absolutely stand toe to toe with Thanos because of how he was written and how much people were invested in the character. But let's jump into the next thing. It's going to be a very, very quick reaction. It's beautiful. It's awesome. I love this video. I watched it a few times already. With the Artemis 2 Return to Earth, we're getting some crew photos and videos that they took with their cell phones as they were just going about their daily lives on the capsule, the Orion capsule. And it looks pretty damning for flat earthers, yet they're still crying AI, and then they share their own AI to prove that this is AI, and it's clearly AI. Uh, it's really sad how desperate they are. You can look at it, they're always like, yeah, this is clearly AI, and then they share something that's never been released by NASA and is clearly AI. You're like, you're right, that is AI. But that's not what NASA released, and what NASA released is clearly not AI, but people believe them and pretend like anything that they post is the gospel truth as reported by NASA. It's really sad. Sam, why the fuck did I ask that? Huh? You never know, man. I never know, at least. But let's watch this video. With the Artemis 2 crew safely returned to Earth, their iPhones have been acquired by NASA personnel. The countless videos and photographs that they took with their iPhones throughout their duration of their trip around the moon and back are becoming available to the public. These are incredibly candid photos and videos. They're raw and they're incredible. Honestly, I don't know how someone could watch this and cry fake. This is better than any CGI out there because it's reality. Reality will always be more beautiful and immersive than anything created by computers, period. This is a video recorded by Christina aboard the Orion capsule as she saw Earth in the distance out of the porthole.
Like if anything isn't making sense,
In case you're
give me a holler.
wondering, the light that you see on my face is Earth shine.
I would be grinning exactly like her. Earth is bright from her perspective. It is Earth reflecting the light of the sun onto her face. And I love this crew. They're so incredibly positive about everything that they're doing, and they're ignoring the flat earthers like they should. It's a loud minority, just like we are talking about with the Primata backlash. They just focused on how incredible this opportunity was and how majestic their views were. And they didn't get into the controversy. They didn't get into nihilism. They didn't get into the world is ending. They went into, wow, this is... just pausing for a second to let the signal come back a little bit. Yep, it just came back. I'll catch up with chat while that finishes coming back up. Some people shouldn't be able to vote. It's complicated. I struggle to say someone shouldn't have the right to vote, but there are people I think shouldn't vote. That's for damn sure. Legatus maybe, Sam. It is from these memes where Batman, Flash, and Superman are relieving themselves on a wall and Superman cuts through the concrete because of the force behind it. Damn. Sam, their phones were first acquired by the black guy. Oh, God. Legatus, people can have their iPhone on, can't have their iPhone on an airplane, yet the astronauts can in space. People can have their phones on a plane. They're just in airplane mode. So they can take all the videos and photographs that they want and then share them once they're on the ground, which is the same policy that the astronauts had. Their phones were in airplane mode the entire time, and they were recording, doing everything along the way that they would. Sometimes they would share stuff to the Orion capsule through the local network that they have, which got transmitted back to Earth. So we got some of this iPhone stuff early, but it's actually the same rules. Airplane mode. Take photos and videos along the way, post them when you get to the ground, or use the Airbus. All right. I think it might be an OBS issue. It really might be an OBS issue. I mean, I do have Spectrum issues, so it is if it is OBS, it is a stacked issue, a twofold issue. But it's starting to come back, and we'll watch the video. Sam, yes, F. Oh, God. Yeah, I'm calling it right now. There will not be a chat choose your own adventure segment, I'm afraid. All right, will it come back? Will it come back? There we go. All right, we're back. We're going to keep watching so we can actually see the come back. Will it come back? There we go. All right, we're back. We're going to keep watching so we can actually see the good part. But yeah, it looks incredible. It looks absolutely incredible. And if we scroll down here, this shot is one of my favorite shots of the entire mission. But this zooms in on her eyes during that video. You can see fucking Earth in the reflections of her iris. Obviously, the whites of her eyes aren't reflecting it, so that's not the moon's surface. Or seeing the world like that, it changes them. It gives them a great perspective of the universe and our places them. It gives them a great perspective of the universe and our place in it. They become more positive, more hopeful, more unifying, and more driven to make this world a better place. I think space travel is good for the soul. I really do think it's good for the soul. And yeah, we're having some pretty consistent fucking issues right now. It's coming, it's going. I might just need to end the stream. Holy damn. Yeah, I didn't have really. I had the Assassin's Creed Black Flag stuff to do, but we're gonna talk about that on other streams. I'm going to try to do what I can, get Spectrum back out here, update OBS, do what I can. Of course, it starts to get better as soon as I switch off that screen. I can't keep doing this. I really can't, chat. It's not good for the channel, and you guys don't deserve this type of quality. I really do owe you better quality than this, so I'm going to do what I can to fix this problem. But that probably brings us to the end of this Rider flight while we're in this brief window of connection. I didn't have much else to talk about because, like I mentioned several times, I've been a little out of the news this week, but I had to take this time to hang out with all of you at least once this week and continue the perfect streak of Rider flight that we've had. I will be back next week, most likely on Thursday night as well, for another Rider flight. Then after that, guessing Rider flight will go back onto Mondays, but at 6 p.m. Eastern rather than 2 p.m. Eastern. Gaming when I can. And Saturday night. Is it coming back? Is it coming back? All right, I think I'm coming back. Your idea for pre-recorded is probably not a bad idea. That's really not a bad idea. And then I could, premiere it at, ho ho. All right. I'm back enough. All right, thank you for watching, whether or not I was on the YouTube side or the Kick side. I greatly appreciate it. If you enjoyed the stream, please consider liking, sharing, and subscribing. The more support this channel gets, the closer we are to publishing the Endless Frontier novels. Until then, have a stellar day, and stay curious.